We wonder about our imagination. It's a handy asset. It can lead us to the four corners of the globe without even leaving our seat. It can swelter us into a distant fantasy beyond our wildest dreams. It can also be the bearer of our worst nightmares, even while we're awake. Its limits are literally in the eyes of its beholder. Having a great imagination can serve us in many different ways. It can aid us in the creative arts, or it can help us embellish a story to make it sound more interesting. It can also serve us in other directions, as we can be prone to daydream. Or it can turn us towards anxiety. If we consider what our imagination is, it is commonly a process of visualisation, taking into account what we know, but then associating it with something that is completely different. For instance, you will know the image of a polar bear and what a skateboard looks like. But through imagination, you then have the ability to associate a polar bear skateboarding in your mind. It is in essence a representation of how we apply our minds with things that we know to a greater level. There will be some that can say that we are more averse to such creativity than others. Imagination, though, is something that we all have if we decide to apply ourselves. For the philosopher Schopenhauer, imagination is something akin to a gift, where we have the tendency to remove ourselves away from our passions and pain of our torment, to instead immerse us into our own state of perception. It is like being able to focus in the present moment, or become absorbed in a task that requires your full attention. We may wonder what this has to do with imagination if we're not in a process of creativity. According to Schopenhauer, it is through imagination that we can see things not in the form of what is presented to us, but what we are able to present to it. Or as you said earlier, a representation that is brought forth from our own minds. For most, we can experience things only as far as what our emotions will allow us. Where if we use our imagination, we can deliver ourselves into a higher level of thought. We can look at things at a broader level and see things in a different dimension. We can notice the strange formation of a cloud, or notice a subtle gust of wind that fluffs up our hair. For Schopenhauer, it is light that we see for most that can light our path. And yet with imagination, it is a light that can reveal the world. So we can now see a new way to how our imagination can be so much more than just daydreaming. It is a way of adding a new dimension of our thinking, applying a level of creativity when it comes to solving our problems. Where using our imaginations is not always easy, and yet it can allow us to expand our repertoire of thought into a higher level. It can take us away from the pain of our immediate passions and see things at a level beyond what is visual to us. It is through our imagination that we develop a new knowledge that is beyond ourselves.